Money!
What Your Bank Doesn't Tell You, a podcast by UMushroom.
It's actually a very big day for us because we are starting our podcast, What the Bank Doesn't Tell You.
Welcome to our podcast. We are going to share with you all our insights, which we've been collecting since day one in banking. And very excited to be here.
So I think it's important that you know who is in front of you. So I start with my introduction. My name is Tonia Zimmermann. I'm Swiss. I studied in Switzerland. Then I went into banking. I worked for investment banks in London like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. Later on, I came back to Switzerland, joined Credit Suisse, and had various responsibilities within Credit Suisse. At the beginning, I was in the structured products business. I was heading part of that area, and that's also where I met Luba. Later, I moved to the mutual fund side. I was responsible for the fund analysts and the fund advisors. And lastly, I was heading the investment specialists, covering the largest Swiss clients. And here we are now with our own company, but we are getting there. We are coming to that.
My name is Luba. I'm originally Bulgarian. I came to study in Switzerland and somehow remained here. I did a PhD in quantitative finance at the University of Zurich. My first stop was Lehman Brothers, a bank which doesn't exist anymore. It was very exciting times of the derivatives in 2005-06. Then I moved to Credit Suisse and continued in the derivatives, and that's where, as Tonia mentioned, we met. And further goes my journey towards more client-facing roles, as we call it. I used to cover the markets, Russia, Eastern Europe, and Israel, and in the field of structured investments and structured finance. And the last 5 years prior to the journey, I was setting up a team in the field of structured investments and structured finance for the ultra-high net worth, a tongue-breaking word, of Julius Baer in region Switzerland. So very excited to be here and to have the opportunity to start our own company.
Maybe what's kind of special with our backgrounds is that we really know everything about investment. So starting on the production side of investments, on the trading floor, later on the private banking side, we were selecting investment solutions and advising investment solutions. And this entire insight on this investment industry really helped us also to develop our business case and where we are standing today.
True. And what we've been discussing over the years, over and over again, is what actually doesn't work in banking. It's a great place to learn what we call the Handwerk in German, but it's also a place where you see how the industry is still operating in a very traditional, very old-fashioned way and very inefficient to an extent. So we were saying the ultra-high net worths of this world, those are the richest clients of a bank. But what about the others? Those who actually are not qualified as wealthy enough to get a proper investment advice. And that's where our attention actually goes.
And you mentioned before the handcraft of finance and of banking, and I'm deeply convinced that everything what has to do with investing is actually really exciting. And this also kept us about 25 years in this industry. But we really realized that banking is only made for a very small group of people. And there is this jargon which is used. There are, and you, as you said, you don't get advice. So I would say about 90% of humans are maybe left out of the banking industry and don't get this information. And our vision is really to show you that banking, investing, and what all comes with that is not so difficult and actually really exciting. But we do it in a slightly different way, I would say.
We do. And another thing which we've noticed is it's not only that the majority of clients are not advised, but our industry somehow seems to lack soul. So the way we present financial information is actually very boring. And even us as experts, we've been talking over and over again whether we used to invest actively. And guess what? Even us who are in the industry, who know the ABC of finance in our sleep, and even we don't touch it, or use not to touch it. And we figured out it has a lot to do with the fact that it's not inspiring. And the major question, why am I doing it?
Absolutely. And as mentioned before, we do it, or we present finance in a slightly different way. And I would say we do it as the mushrooms do, no? And this is also the link to our name. And you might have been wondering why a finance company is called UMushroom. But there are many, many common aspects, and let me explain. So the mushrooms, they were kind of the first creatures on planet Earth. They went into symbiosis with mosses and algs and minor plants which existed back at these times. And out of these symbioses, completely new ecosystems emerged. And out of these ecosystems, basically they grew and grew and grew. And as we know nature today, it's basically thanks to the mushrooms. Mushrooms are connected.
Yes.
They communicate with each other. And this is also the point why we strongly believe in the community on our platform. And what else?
Equality. Actually, when we started setting up the company, we first knew what are our values. And those are the values which we would love to live into it. And one thing is equality. Mushrooms actually are equal. There is no major mushroom. And that's what we believe. We believe that human life should have a value, equal value everywhere in the world. The second thing is, as you say, connectivity. It's so important to be connected because that's how you grow and learn. And nowadays, what we figure out is, particularly with what happened with Corona and all the events in the world out there, more than ever, the feeling to belong somewhere and to be connected with something global, something important actually, something which gives meaning, is very important. And self-responsibility. That's another thing which is very dear to our heart, because we believe that if you take charge of your own life, and to that resources belong, right, as a major point, financial resources, then if you decide actively, then you are the one who says what's going to happen with you. You can live according to your values. You don't leave it up to someone else to decide for you. And this is very important for everyone if we want to make the world a better place.
Absolutely, and this is not just in general for your life. We truly believe that taking responsibility and living according to the values, this also applies to investing. We have the very strong conviction that one should actually invest according to their very personal values and not what a bank is telling you. And also in this respect, you also have to be aware that the banks, many things they don't know. They don't know plenty of stuff about you. They don't know what's important, what are your drivers, how is the world looking in which you want to live. And in this respect, we encourage you and we help you, we guide you to take this responsibility on the investing side and really create a portfolio which reflects the world you want to create and your personality in the end.
Absolutely. And here is another thing which we realized in our career. You actually cannot be not invested. That's not possible. Because even if you have the cash on the bank, you are invested in a particular currency. For example, if I hold my cash or my available cash in Credit Suisse or in UBS or in any other big bank, etc., I'm actually invested A, in a certain currency, and B, I bear the so-called credit risk of the respective institution. And, you know, we currently are living in an environment where things are getting more and more expensive every day. We call that inflation. And as such, you actually have a negative return. You earn negative on your cash account. So that's the monetary side of it, but there is also an emotional component of that. As a self-responsible individual, you may want to support a cause, or as just you mentioned, you may want to live according to your values, and living according to your values, a major part is how you manage your financial resources. And what we want to inspire people is actually to be very mindful about where they put their money into, to be very mindful that they have the capacity and they have the power to really take this self-responsibility, and that's where we are here. We want to teach everyone to build that.
And it's also a discussion about what has what value for you, and also what's your own worth, what's your own value, to what item, to what characteristics, etc. you give a certain value, and how can you encourage this item or characteristic to be even stronger and to nourish it. And this, I mean, it sounds a bit abstract maybe, but in the end, everything is connected and money has a very important role in it, and we help you to make most use of your resource money.
And you're mentioning a very important part. Actually, when you join us and when we started the company, maybe I should put it that way, is we actually realized that for us, it's a journey towards discovering our own worth, our own value. And it's very important. It has to do with how do we spend our time. It has to do with what type of thoughts are we having. It has to do with what are we creating every day. It also has to do with how we invest our money, right, as a major resource, one of the major resources. So actually we're on a journey, and we first lived it on our own to discover our own worth. And that's also a motto which we have until now, and also with our company. Do you know your worth?
I believe you're already in the middle of the topic. So you see there are many psychological or even spiritual aspects to money, but the bank will never tell you. And then also, Luba mentioned before, you can't be not invested. So also all these aspects, usually the bank never tells you about these aspects, and that you earn negative, for example, on your cash account. And these are the topics, the insights you can expect from us. And I would say we are very much looking forward to the next episode.
Thank you.
Money! What Your Bank Doesn't Tell You, a podcast by UMushroom.